So, welcome to this transmission. I call it a transmission because it's not a podcast and it's not necessarily a YouTube video. This is a recording and it's deliberately audio. I am attempting to mask my identity in the sense that Superman does. Or perhaps slightly better than Superman. I'm here with my wife, who we shall call V, and I am M. And you can have hours of fun attempting to guess our names. Of course, you may recognise our voices if you know us personally, but the probability of that, since there's 7 billion people on the planet, is relatively low. We wanted to be anonymous because we wanted to be able to talk about anything. That doesn't mean we're going to talk about things we're necessarily embarrassed about. In fact, probably most of the time, I don't think we will. But I think anonymity is a key part of being able to fully express yourself. So that's from me. I'll hand you over to V.
I've got a feeling I might actually slip up with that.
Well, I can edit
during
that out.
our conversations.
I can edit that out.
So basically, M and I have always sort of not prided ourselves, but enjoyed having deep conversations about all sorts of subject matter. And we both feel very strongly that we'd like to give something to the, as M would call it, group consciousness in a positive way. Neither of us are experts at any of these subjects. Experts is definitely sort of, well, we're just not. We're just basically everyday people with whatever that means, with just our own opinions and that we want to express. And hopefully, well, I don't know about M, but I think maybe it could at least start conversations going. It could at least try and help someone else out. So I'll pass you back to M for a minute and we'll...
Anyone can say their opinion. And that's all we have. In fact, even experts in their field, all they have is their opinion. And it might be based off years of study and interaction with other experts in their field. And perhaps if that is the case, you should give them more time. But all anyone is ever doing is stating their opinion. And if you can be honest about and true to yourself about what you think, and true with yourself about what you can think, then I think that is worthy of transmission. And it's not so much that I think I can help people out there. V watches many YouTube videos and is somewhat of a consumer of information. And I think there are lots of people out there who do that, and which is why YouTube is so successful. And people listen to podcasts too. I prefer podcasts, but
I don't really have a preference, actually. I do like both.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that there are a lot of people out there consuming information. And I think perhaps there are not as many people producing information. And when I say information, I don't mean it as something that is true. It's all opinion. And I think that if we can adjust the balance of people producing information and people consuming it towards more people producing information, then what we can hope to achieve is that a more equal weight is placed on opinion. Because as I said before, I think opinion is all you can really have. And if we can bring more people's opinions into the global domain where other people can listen, then we can expect to see more intelligent behaviour for our species. I think one of the problems these days, although it's becoming less of a problem, is that we have authoritarians dictating what is true and false to us, and many people don't feel like they have the capacity to be able to do that same thing and to basically just say their opinion. and see it on the same level as, say, a newsreader. So what I think we can hope to achieve is the more active cells in the interaction of human beings causing what I call group consciousness. The more active neurons, then the more intelligent the consciousness will become, and therefore the more sensible it will become. Because one of the things that I see as a reflection of culture these days, and by the way, I think that culture is synonymous with group consciousness, is that it tends to not pay enough heed to how people feel, and it doesn't tend to pay enough heed to how the environment is being used, and it's really heading for disaster. So it needs to wake up and smell the coffee. And the way of doing this is if we all express ourselves more, because every expression that people make, every artistic creation that we produce, goes into the group consciousness, and it may not have a big effect, but it goes in somewhere.
I actually would like to jump in here and say that I think the reason a lot of people are afraid to speak up and say how they really feel, they are literally afraid. They're fearful. They feel like if they say something that by mainstream standards might seem a bit far out or a bit different or even against the kind of mainstream version of things, that they're somehow going to be penalised for that. And I think fear is a large part of why people don't speak out. I know it certainly has been for me in the past. It's fear, and it's also that I simply didn't feel like I had enough profound or useful information I could tell people, I could say to people. So I just felt like, why would I? Why would I say anything? I know when I listen to certain things and I watch certain things, I can be in complete agreement and think to myself, why didn't I articulate it like that? Or I could have said that myself, but the truth of the matter is I never did, because part of me didn't know how to express it.
So,
So
have you
carry on.
finished?
Yeah.
Coming off that, I think that culture presently, or at least in the past, perhaps not so much these days, but in the past has tended to want to centralize truth, the knowledge, because knowledge is power, and we're coming from the age of warlords, and the whole game is power. But now we're really global, and I don't think warlords make much sense anymore. And I can go more into that, but not now. And we're starting to see decentralization of knowledge. In fact, you can get knowledge at your fingertips these days if you're prepared to read and listen. And so therefore everyone has more knowledge. It might not be correct knowledge, but we have more of it. And it's decentralized now. It's becoming more and more decentralized. And I think we're still coming out of this age where there's this idea of there being an elite group of people who have the right to determine what information is true, and their tendency is to attempt to make normal people feel like they can't say anything because they're not educated enough. And I think I have a degree in physics, and V doesn't have a degree, and I think perhaps this plays into her opinion of what of her own intellect, but it shouldn't.
I actually think I've got quite a good intellect. It's just maybe not as trained and nurtured as M's is. But it's definitely there. I'm definitely capable of, if you, for want of a better phrase, intellectual thought. I can definitely keep up with it if I put my mind to it. And I enjoy it, actually.
I know.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
carry on.
Well, this is what I think. I think it's the domain of all people. Everyone has the ability to express themselves if they want to, And they should do, and they should be allowed to, and not think to themselves, well, I haven't got anything to say.
But I don't think that's due to other people particularly. Or it may be. I've just always felt like that was my low self-confidence.
Yes, but that
But
is created by the fact that you never went to some kind of higher institution of learning,
that
which is
amongst other things. Yeah.
actually not. It's just a facet of our society and not anything intrinsic about you.
No.